Good evening and welcome to another video on All Hail the Ale. Tonight we are going for another cherry beer. It is from the USA. I don't get many American beers over here in the UK, unless you really hunt for them, but this one I got as part of the Christmas box from my stepdaughter and her boyfriend. It is from Goose Island. It's this one. It is Madame Rose. And it says it's a Belgian style wild ale fermented in wine barrels with cherries. And as per other cherry ales you may have seen me review, they can be either ridiculously sweet, a little bit underpowered, or just right. It's a little bit kind of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The really sweet ones I really am not a fan of. There are very few that are kind of insipid on the cherry front, and there's one or two that are just spot on, and they go down really, really well when you want a sweet beer. This one, it says it is a 6.7% beer, so it's got some potency behind it, which is nice. It was produced in 2018, 25th of June, and it's got a BBE of 5 years on it, so 2023. So just down there on the back of the bottle, there we go. It's got a good 5 years on that beer. It's a hell of a long time, in my opinion, for any beer really, unless of course it's one that you can really age like a good old stout. So, without further ado, I'm just going to touch on the labelling. It's pretty cool. You know, you've got a little bit of silver. Kind of makes the writing a little bit hard to read at times. I really had to struggle the first time round. And interestingly to note, it's a slightly bigger bottle. It's 355ml or 35.5 centilitres as the label says. I do like the Goose Island branding on the bottle as well. It's embossed in the glass. It's a nice little touch. So, let's crack it open and see what we get. So the pour is very Belgian brown. We have a little head on that. No, we don't have a lot of head at all, if any. There we are. That beer is hazy. As you can see from there, it looks mahogany through the lights. There's kind of the teak. It's light. It's clear, but it's hazy but clear, if that makes sense. It's not got any floaters or anything untoward. The head has disappeared already. I'm not surprised with it being kind of wild yeast. I'm expecting a saison type thing going on, which I've never had a saison with a decent head on it. Yeah, so light carbonation. It sounded a little fizzy up front, but that carbonation evidence is pretty much non-existent. And yeah, that's your beer in a glass. Let's have a whiff, shall we? See. So didn't get any cherries upon opening. I'm getting a little bit. I am getting a little bit. It's got that very tart, pull your ass up to your elbows kind of mouth puckering sourness to it, which I was expecting. There's almost something like almost cola like going on here as well. That kind of sweetness that's not the cherries but something else. I suppose you could call it like a cherry cola kind of thing going on. Let's have a taste. Cheers. It's tart. It is very tart. It's not quite as sour as I was expecting, but it's also not that heavily cherry influenced, shall we say. But that works in my favour because I don't like them overly sweet. There is a hint of it here, and that's nice. You can taste the wine kind of aging that's gone on. It's adding that little bit of that fermented grape thing. That thing you get with the wine, you know, those slightly cheaper wines, mind, that taste a little bit vinegary. I'm not saying this is vinegary at all, but that kind of thing, that kind of feeling it gives you right back there in the old gob. And it's nice. It works on this style of beer. Although it looks it in the glass, in as much as that the bugger all carbonation, it's really kind of fizzy on the tongue. It's like that little tiny little bit snap, crackle and pop from the old Rice Krispie days. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. I'm not getting a huge amount of the cherries, like I say. Also not getting a humongous amount of the influence of a Belgian. It's alright though. It's alright. It is not hiding the 6.7% at all. It's there. It's in your face. I'm on the fence, I think. Now, maybe that's because I'm not a huge fan of sours or cherry beers. And then you combine the two and you get something that's a bit of an enigma to me. I like my beers traditional. I like big hoppy IPAs. I like dark malty sort of bitters. Sours and cherry beers are a little bit, yeah, they're nice when done well, but they're also still a little bit kind of left field for me. What do I think of it? Madame Rose, do I like it? I like it, but not enough to go out and rush out and buy it. So would I go out and buy it? I'm going to be honest, I would say no, but that's because I'm just not the biggest fan of the style. It's not particularly bad beer, it doesn't taste unpleasant, it's pleasant enough flavours. I'm just not a huge fan of the kind of sour beers at all. I'm not getting a huge amount of the cherry. I was kind of hoping for a bit more. There was another one there, was it the Tillerman's that I had from the same box that was a really pleasant level of cherry. This is kind of just, imagine a cherry rating of 1 to 10, where 1 is bugger all and 10 is like all the cherries. The Tillerman's is like in the middle. And this is kind of like a 1.5, 2. It's just like it's just enough there just to say legally that I've got cherries in me. It's not a strong cherry flavour at all, is what I'm trying to say. So, no, I wouldn't unfortunately go out and buy it, and it's not very often I find a beer that I will say that, but hey, it's one of the things you find when you get a mixed box of beers that you were totally not expecting. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and unfortunately for me, this is one that I'm going to lose out on. I'm going to drink it, I'm not going to waste it, it's not bad enough to throw away. I just don't particularly care for it much at all. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give the Goose Island Madame Rose 2.5 out of 5. Like I say, it's not one I'd go and buy again, but it's not one that I would consider throwing away. And yeah, there we are. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, this has been the Madame Rose from Goose Island. I've been Nick, and I will see you again soon for another video with hopefully better beer. Thanks.